The Glock Generation 6 isn't out yet, but talk online sure makes it seem like it dropped just yesterday. Folks on AI-powered firearm channels are chattering. Patents are being spun into promises, and everyone's chiming in. How much of this chatter stands up when you dig into the filings and real-world moves Glock's made? In this video, we're diving into what's fact, what's fiction, and what this buzz means for those wondering if the next Glock is worth waiting for. We'll sift through the patents, cutting through claims that don't match the documents. We'll check into what Glock is experimenting with and consider how these changes might affect how you carry, train, and take care of your pistol. We'll also look at how law enforcement and military demand shapes features that end up in civilian hands. And we'll answer the question on everyone's mind. If a new generation arrives tomorrow, is it really worth your dollars? Stick around because the truth behind the Gen 6 buzz is both simpler and more fascinating than the internet noise suggests. So, let's cut through the hype and focus on what matters. Many folks are tossing around the words Gen 6 as if it's already on the shelf. Some are quoting patents like they're product manuals. That's not how this goes. Patents highlight directions a company wants to secure, not actual products. To find out what Glock may be developing and what's just online chatter, let's look at the real documents, what's already out there, and consider the market Glock focuses on most. That's what we'll do, in plain English, from a shooter's point of view. First, let's start with an easy myth to bust. A patent number has been thrown around by one of our YouTube peers, claiming Glock is releasing a pistol with a drop-in trigger cassette. The patent number is US 122159944, and here's the kicker. It's not connected to a Glock pistol. It's for a rifle-style trigger setup for Glock's AR platform, the GR15. For a long time, that gun was just talk. Claiming this is Gen 6 proof is either a misunderstanding or outright wrong. Anyone who's worked on an AR fire control group knows what a cassette trigger is, and that you can't just drop one into a Glock pistol frame. That whole claim falls apart when you look up the patent number, US 122159944. Check it out. Next, there's the claim about a no-trigger press takedown linked to US 122648888. The story goes that the patent describes a spring-loaded lever behind the trigger axis that blocks the striker, allowing disassembly without squeezing the trigger. That patent talks about a modular trigger design, but doesn't include that takedown method. However, there's a Glock application that does address a different takedown path. US 2025/006/0178A1 for a handgun receiver assembly. In that file, Glock talks about a locking lever and a component lowering inside a control block. These mechanics aim at safer, cleaner slide removal, responding to requests from armorers and procurement folks for less room for user errors during maintenance. If we're discussing real defensible changes to the platform's service procedure, that's where the evidence is, not in misunderstood trigger designs. Now, let's get into modularity, where things are genuinely interesting without straying into fiction. Glock obtained European patent EP4202348B1 for a grip stock module that divides the frame into two parts, an upper grip and a lower grip. The upper part is the load-bearing, serialized piece, hosting the slide rails and the magwell. The lower part is a detachable grip shell that locks on and can be swapped without tools once the magazine is out. The filing even mentions room for a battery in the lower grip for onboard electronics. This doesn't mean Glock is about to launch a smart gun. It means the platform can evolve without sacrificing ergonomics. It's modular in a Glock way, not a SIG way. With SIG's P320, you pull the entire fire control unit out of the grip. With Glock's design, the upper grip, the part that legally and structurally counts, remains, and the lower shell alters the feel, length, and possibly the capacity if Glock offers shells with varying shapes. It's a sensible, conservative approach that maintains core Glock advantages, while giving shooters more fit options. If you do a lot of shooting, you know what this could mean. One serialized core that keeps your trigger feel, sights, and optic zero, with different lower shells to adjust for concealment or duty use. One setup for appendix carry when the weather demands a tighter profile, another for training with gloves and an extended magwell. You don't need to be a fan to acknowledge it addresses real issues for real folks. Plenty of shooters buy one pistol and stick with it. But departments, units, and trainers manage a variety of hand sizes and mission roles would gladly accept tool-less adaptability if it doesn't compromise reliability. Optics play a big role in this conversation too. MOS got many folks into pistol dots, but plate systems add height, more screws, and more chances for fasteners to come loose at the worst times. Glock's quiet answer appeared as cut slides designed for the Aimpoint COA footprint: direct mount, deeper set, less height over bore. That's the right path for a duty-grade optics solution. Here's the catch. Those COA-ready pistols hit the civilian market briefly, then disappeared. Retailers marked them unavailable. Industry reports tie that change to agency and military demand. If you've kept up with procurement trends, that makes sense. Some agencies have stepped away from competing striker platforms amid controversy, leaving Glock in a position to strengthen its hold with a solid optic program not dependent on plates. If you're wondering at home why you can't buy the new slide cut, that's why. People are talking allocation. It's not a rumor that helps you buy one, but it explains why the consumer window closed. So, where does the supposed Gen 6 stand today? On one hand, there's a real patent trail hinting Glock is aiming for tool-less lower shells, room for onboard power, and a redesigned takedown with no trigger press. On the optics front, there's a product path toward direct mount slides that's already attracting agency interest. On the other hand, there's no official announcement, no SKU sheets, or shipping dates. You also don't have a true FCU system like SIG, nor any line in any filing mentioning rifle chassis reinforcement pins inside a polymer handgun frame. Those embellishments sound exciting on a live stream, but they're not in the documents. Caliber rumors surface whenever there's a shift in the catalog. Folks point at .357 SIG and .45 GAP missing from the lineup and claim it's because the next-gen design doesn't support them. That's not a technical issue. That's the market talking, driven by ammo availability and agency demand more than online drama ever could. If you love .357 SIG, keep enjoying it. If you love 45 GAP, you already understand why it never caught on globally. Glock didn't phase out those models because of a new frame seam, but because demand didn't justify production time when the 9mm trend keeps growing. Now, the question everyone wants answered. What does this mean for someone thinking about buying? If you own a Gen 5 dependable for carry duty and home defense, there's nothing new out there making your pistol outdated. Accuracy, durability, and part support are resolved matters with the current generation. If you were hoping to buy a factory direct mount COA slide tomorrow, you'll be disappointed for a while as those are prioritized for folks in uniform. If Glock opens up again to the civilian market, that's great. If not, count on the aftermarket to keep offering plates and dedicated slides, and for companies like Aimpoint to keep refining closed emitter options to fit the footprints currently shipping. If you're prone to upgrading guns like others upgrade phones, patience is your friend. When Glock rolls out a true next-gen core, you'll know. The name will be on the slide, dealer sheets will be around, and the parts ecosystem will spring into action that very day. That's when you decide on timing, maybe snagging discounted Gen 5s as the pipeline transitions, similar to those smart buyers who picked up Gen 4 police trade-ins and enjoyed them trouble-free for years. Perhaps you invest in a next-gen frame because the takedown process and grip modularity fit your needs. Either way, lean on facts, not speculations. Let's revisit the takedown discussion because it's one area where Glock can offer genuine user benefits without changing the essence of the gun. The traditional Glock disassembly steps call for a trigger press. Done correctly on an unloaded pistol, it's straightforward. Done wrong, it's an unforgettable mess. A control block that separates slide removal from that press is a real improvement for departments drafting policy and for owners training others. If Glock brings the US 2025/00601788A1 idea to the market, it could lower training risks. It keeps the familiar manual of arms while removing an unnecessary trap for hurried hands. That's not just marketing fluff, that's practical. Regarding the two-piece grip concept, think about real use cases, not showy mods. A lower shell with extra palm swell for winter gloves. A slim shell for concealed carry under light clothing without sacrificing the same trigger, cycling, or slide. An instructor builds up a collection around a standard upper and lets students pick the shell that allows proper trigger reach. A unit armorer stocks shells instead of entire frames, cutting costs and simplifying inventory. Such flexibility is important when budgets are tight, and not all hands are the same. And since the serialized portion stays constant, you avoid the legal and logistical issues of swapping a self-contained FCU across frames. It's incremental Glock-specific updates that preserve the brand's reliability image. There's been chatter about batteries and grips, and what that might mean. The patent's battery compartment isn't a promise of electronics in the next box you buy. It's reserved space, so future solutions can run power without a bulky wraparound. This could mean a shot counter for agencies monitoring usage and maintenance intervals. It could enable power routing to an integrated grip light, or a sensor supporting training analytics. It could also remain unused indefinitely. But when engineers create that space, it shows they're tired of seeing third-party accessories adding bulk where it's not welcome. If that space is used down the line, it will fit Glock's tradition: straightforward, durable, serviceable. One last point on optics before moving on. Direct mounting isn't about trends, it's about physics. The closer that emitter sits to the bore, the more natural your presentation feels, the less mechanical offset you have to manage, and the fewer small parts you need to keep the dot steady through recoil. Plates have their place in open doors, but every serious duty pistol moving forward aims for a sturdy direct slide interface. The COA program shows Glock gets this. The brief shortage on the consumer side isn't a reason to fuss. It's recognizing that procurement cycles rule the priorities. When a big client like the US military needs thousands of identically configured pistols, everyone else waits their turn. So, is a hypothetical Gen 6 worth buying the moment it arrives? If Glock introduces a frame with toolless lower shells, a safer takedown block, and a direct mount optic system, then indeed many shooters will see immediate value. Trainers, departments, and dedicated carriers will welcome equipment that performs the same tasks with fewer maintenance hassles and a better fit. If you're budget conscious and value matters over novelty, watch for pricing and transition deals. A Gen 5 you can run for 10 years at a discount might offer more value for your needs than a top-tier launch model. The best investment you can make in guns is dollars spent on ammo and training. A Gen 6 isn't going to change that. Let's take a sober approach to timelines. People keep drawing straight lines from filing dates in 2020 and 2021 to specific months this year. That's not how development unfolds. Some patents move quickly, some sit, some never come to life. The only timeline that counts is the one Glock sets when they drop a press release and distributors start taking orders. Until then, you can learn from the filings without pretending they're launch memos. Anyone claiming to know the exact show or day is just guessing. Returning to the core question in the video title, is the new Glock worth buying? The plain answer is yes, it's worth buying. It won't render your Gen 5 obsolete, nor magically turn you into a better shooter. However, it will make configuring the gun to the job and shooter easier and make maintenance harder to mess up. That's a wrap for this video. Here's our conclusion. The buzz around Gen 6 is mostly built on shaky claims, but the patents show Glock is planning forward in meaningful ways. More modularity, safer takedown, and duty-focused optics. Our Gen 5 Glocks aren't outdated, but the next generation could indeed make life simpler for those seeking improved fit and serviceability. What do you think? Which Gen 6 features excite you most? Planning to wait for the next Glock or grab a Gen 5 while deals are plentiful? Share your thoughts below.